Hello and welcome to Eldin's Arc, only on riotradio.ca and all of our other affiliations. Today, we are going to talk about some really cool things. So, to get started, my name is Eldin Atkin. Good to be here. And welcome to the SS Eldin's Arc. Now, we're still at sea, and today we're talking about not just animals, but also something very strange they do. If you notice our logo, we have a new member at the top there. And you might think, opossums aren't blue. Well, you'll find out today why that is blue. Now, we're talking about, what animals do, what these strange things they do. And again, dear listener and viewer, you might be saying, well, animals do quite a bit of cool things. What is this? So today, we're not talking about bioluminescence. We're talking about, it's glowing through chemicals. But today we're talking about photoluminescence, which is a bit of a new term to me, and that is why the opossum was blue. Now, this will be a bit sciencey, so buckle up and let's explore the world of photoluminescence. Now, I'm not by any means, shape, or form an expert on this. It took me 3 days, so I might just be a Canadian podcast bro. We'll see how that goes. But to start, we have a photoluminescence, which is a very big mouthful to say. As you can see here, we have luminescence. We have photoluminescence, which is the absorption of photons, which I'll go over. The other luminescence, which I'm not going to try to pronounce because that's a lot. But as you can see, bioluminescence is kind of mixed in there. Photoluminescence has fluorescence and phosphorescence. It's a lot to say. So, luminescence is the emission of any light from a substance that does not arise from heat or heating. So a hot ember on a fire doesn't count. That's incandescence, which is the emission of light due to elevated temperature of a substance. While photoluminescence, and this is the really cool thing, if you've ever seen a scorpion, when you flash UV on it and it glows, that is photoluminescence. So photoluminescence is the emission of light from a material following the absorption of light / photons. It's a lot. So photoluminescence is, in biology, results from photons hitting an organic object and causing it to change in the energy levels of the electrons within a certain molecule. A lot to say. Basically, you got a scorpion, got a UV light. You flash it on the scorpion's body absorbs that photon / light energy, and it changes it. And then it has to disperse. It doesn't just stay in the body. So it eventually disperses, and that results in a glow. Glow in the dark stuff, that is photoluminescence. So it's a lot. I'm trying to get through this the best way I can, but some things react differently. So again, scorpions don't have fur, but they glow fully. Animals have a pelage, which refers to fur, hair, or wool. So we have hair, animals have fur and wool. Their skin or the shell, which is not just pelage, but it's a bigger thing there. So the intensity is different depending on the species and how much light it actually absorbs. Again, if you ever try to do like a glow-in-the-dark thing and you try to cup it in your hand and give it as much light as possible to make it glow, depending on how long it's out in the sun or out in that light for, it changes how long it glows for. So why am I talking about photoluminescence today? And recently I had the pleasure of meeting a scorpion named Scorpy, which is very, very, I'm very proud of the name. So Scorpy, and I got to show this, I was shown how Scorpy glows. And I knew that they could, but I've never really seen that before, in person. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. But why do they glow? And how do they glow? So that put me down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out why and how. And it's quite a journey. So buckle up, here we go. To start with, I read a couple articles. One was from Nat Geo, and one was from a study from Australia. Plus, I did a bunch of background research, Wikipedia, all that jazz. It'll be in the description, all the links. I recommend you check them out, because the Nat Geo article was really good. So the recent article of Nat Geo came out May 9th, 2025, and the author was Jason Battelle. And in this article, they touched on that recent tests from citizen scientists, which pretty much means you're random people who do these tests sometimes, uncovered glowing geckos, millipedes, and snakes. And out of the 110 species of snakes, 90% of them showed at least some signs of ultraviolet coloration or UV reflection. This new finding echoes previous studies where they found that 92% of frogs, of 187 frog species, also had photoluminescent skin. 95% or 95 species of coral fish glow in ultraviolet light. 181 species of birds have photoluminescent plumage. And then comes mammals. And that's us. 95% of 148 mammals tested also had photoluminescent fur. And we also see photoluminescence in fungi, bacteria, and the chlorophyll of plants. So it's everywhere. You and I can photoluminescize. Now, some recent papers paint the picture that find that glowing animals are a rarity, but not for Linda Reinhold, she was one who co-wrote the Australian paper, and she's a zoologist from the James Cook University in Australia, and the lead author of the mammal study, which I will reference later. And she says that it's the norm, not the expectation. So, of course, again, scorpions, they glow like bright blue. I've never seen a person glow. But apparently we can. With enough absorption of UV radiation and like with certain conditions met, we could glow. So, about these glowing mammals, over 111 years of research has gone into seeing glowing people and animals. And 14 of the extant species of mammals have some glow in them, from a little bit to a lot. And I'm going to go over those 14 families. So again, a little more sciencey, but if you want to kind of if you want to hear about these cool families, because I did a lot of research and I tested Justin, he did well. I was surprised. So with that, we're going to go over our 14 of the 20 extant glowing species. So to start us off, we got Monotremata. Sounds kind of cool. That's egg-laying mammals. And you think, what the heck is that? Echidnas and platypuses. You're going to see, like, you're like, Eldin, why aren't you using pictures of all these glowing things? A lot of them are trademarked. And I couldn't really find any that were proper for use. So just picture a glowing platypus. Didelphimorphia, which are opossums. Not to be confused with possums, but Didelphimorphia, pretty cool. Dasyrinomorphia, which are carnivorous marsupials. So that's quolls, Tasmanian devils, Tasmanian, I wrote that twice, Tasmanian wolves or tigers when I called them that, and Dunarts, which are like these weird little marsupial mice. Paramelamorphia, which is bilbies and bandicoots, which if you've never seen a bilby or bandicoot, look that up. Crash Bandicoot, pretty cool. He would glow, possibly. Oh man, I really should practice these. Diprotodontia, which is wombats, kangaroos, koalas, and possums, not opossums. Very different. Look them up if you haven't seen them before. Primates, which primates is us, monkeys, apes, and lemurs. Lagomorpha, which is pikas, rabbits, and hares. So funny enough, if you go back to the start of this whole like glowing research, rabbits and people were the first two things that this study kind of was like, oh wow, they're glowing. We have Rodentia, which is my least favorite of all families, which is the dreaded rodents. Yuck. We have Urolopothyphala, which you might not have guessed what that is because it's hedgehogs, shrews, moles, and solnodons, which are these weird like half shrew, half hedgehog creatures. Arctiodactyla, which are even-toed ungulates. So that's goats, cows, pigs, camels, bison. There's a lot of them. Chiroptera, which is bats. Chiroptera have their own family. Pretty cool. There is Perissodactylia, which is odd-toed ungulates. So horses, rhinos, and tapirs. Phylodota, which is just pangolins, all by themselves, also known as scaly anteaters. And last but not least is Carnivora. So that's bears, cats, dogs, most non-marsupial carnivorous mammals. So it's a lot. 14 species out of 20 of all mammals, of these huge families, all have some sort, have been documented glowing somehow. Really cool. Now, with photoluminescence being so common, why? Why glow? So bioluminescence has many functions when it comes to animal kingdom, attracting mates, prey, or warding off predators. Think anglerfishes with their little lure. That lure, if you're in the deep ocean, you don't see much. So if you can attract something with that lure and gets there, that's bioluminescence. Look at squid, bioluminescence. But photoluminescence is a little different. And I made a short little video just to kind of show what photoluminescence looks like on a non-normal anglerfish. And you will see Now, this is taken from the National Geographic one, but as you can see, that's a pink possum. Why is that possum pink? Well, it goes from that to that. And that is photoluminescence. That poor possum, well, not really poor, he's fine, was bombarded with UV light, and all of a sudden, turned the lights off, and now he's purple. And it's really cool to think that that can happen. And the idea is, why? So a study by Stubble in 1911 doubted that photoluminescence could be biologically significant, since it is so common, both internally and externally in mammals. So apparently we glow on the inside too. There are a few hypotheses that have been proposed. So this is taken from the mammal studies by Linda M. Reinhold, Tasman L. Reimer, Christopher M. Hegland, and David T. Wilson. So a couple ideas of why they think things photoluminesce, which is hard to say. They think it's adaptive to a nocturnal crepuscular, which means relating to twilight, so around like dawnish area, especially in snow light environments. Basically, if you are a very dark predator, like a brown fox, let's say, and you are hunting in the snow, if you don't have a winter coat, if you absorb enough UV radiation, and then to some things that see in UV, you might appear a lot lighter, which makes it harder for them to see you, and vice versa. In intraspecific, which means produced, occurring, or existing with a species. So it could be communication. So if I'm a male opossum and I have this nice, like, weird, shiny, like, energy around me, and you see that, and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm on the prowl, I want to kind of figure out what's going on, and you can see that the alternative sex has a different pattern, it makes it easier to identify. Because again, the animal kingdom is weird. You can't just walk up and say, you know, hi, how are you doing? Let's get a coffee. It's a little different than that. So one study also found, which was really cool too, that flying insects would avoid photoluminescent scorpions on a full moon. And that was by Kluk in 2005. So basically, scorpions, as I said, glow. Full moon reflects sun's light and bounces it back. Becomes UV radiation or UV light. A different study found that house crickets didn't recognize or didn't react really differently to photoluminescent scorpions under a half moon. I was from Gavel et al. In 2020. So this could lead to the idea that the moon only truly makes a scorpion shine, while a half moon, but doesn't make it shine enough to be seen by the crickets, which is really cool. So scorpions will glow, but not enough for these crickets to be like, oh man, that's a glowing scorpion, let's avoid that. But the insects, they can tell. The flying insects, that is. Then it comes to snakes, and this is really cool. We've always seen those heat visions from snakes in the documentaries. So Haley Crowell, a herpetologist from the University of Michigan, said that almost all the reported functions of UV color has heavily skewed towards reproduction. I mean, that's the whole point of life, right, is to make more. In flowers, some uses for ultraviolet coloration is to guide pollinators to their flower. Almost like, you know, you're at the airport, you need to know where to land. And you got like these blinking lights saying, hey, land this way. Pollen's here, come get it. That's sometimes, you know, they're bugs. They're not super intelligent, so maybe that helps. Or like a bright light going to McDonald's. You're looking for those double arches, and you're like, oh, there it is, let's go that way. So birds have been shown to use them in mating selections and shown in neon beaks with puffins. Now, I want to talk about the puffins thing. Puffins do have a bit of a neon beak, but they were painted. So it's not really true. The interesting thing with the snakes, though, and this is, again, kind of cool, both genders had the same coloring. There was no difference. So it's not like you can tell one snake from another snake. They all look the same pretty much under this UV light. But tree-dwelling snakes were shown to have more color, while the ground-dwelling snakes had less color, or no color whatsoever. So Haley Crowell said when it comes to the prairie rattler, or rattlesnake, they are like ghosts on the landscape, having almost no UV coloration, which means they give off no glow. You wouldn't even see them. And if you've ever been walking around almost up on a snake, they're very hard to see sometimes. But their close cousins, the tree vipers, which are actually beautiful snakes, found in the tropics, have almost full coloration of UV. And the question was, these almost sister species differ so much due to predation. When you have a spot when you're living in the trees and you have all these predatory birds that are actively in the trees, you want to camouflage as much as you can. So if you look green by day, but at night you're going to stand out, well, what if all of a sudden when the UV light is leaving your body, you glow a different, like a color that almost matches your surroundings? It makes it harder to see, especially if those birds see in UV along the UV spectrum. Well, rattlesnakes, they don't want to be shown at all. If you're living in like scrub, you can't really hide. You can get under a rock, but you're hunting at night as well. So you want to be able to hide as best you can. So rattlesnakes, I said, live in open ground, while these snakes live in the trees. Pretty cool. Predator prey makes it hard to see. And we're almost done, I swear. It's a lot. We're still trying to figure this out. So, with scorpions, and I do want to talk back about, Scorpy. When I was shown, took the UV pen, and Scorpy tried to kind of like run away. So when it comes to scorpions, it's shown or suggested they may be able to sense ultraviolet light and try to actively avoid it. Because again, if you're hunting or being hunted, glowing like a neon night at a bowling alley is not what you want. You're not going to get fed, you're not going to catch things, and you're going to get eaten if you're just glowing like crazy. So scorpions will try to naturally avoid this UV light, which makes sense. Of the other studies too, they said that some birds will avoid caterpillars that have photoluminescence, instead feeding on those that don't give off UV light. Again, if you're going to go and eat something, if it's neon green versus like something that looks more edible, I'm going to pick the more edible than the neon green. And of course, the oceans. Oceans are really cool. Photoluminescence and bioluminescence are a big thing in the oceans. And as you dive deeper, water filters out different kinds of light. So usually it's all blue light in the top, and then it's like red light and other stuff down at the bottom. UV light penetrates deeper though, so things that absorb the UV light, they can give it off at night. And honestly, that's not a ton I can say, unfortunately. That's it. Like, we still don't exactly know why. There's a lot of ideas. This has been 111 years in the works. And I read an entire 14-page scientific journal about it, and I'm still not nearly as, obviously well-versed as these folks. So, there you go. Some animals will actively just glow. And we don't really know why they do that. There's a couple ideas, but either way, kind of cool. So if we show the Eldin's Ark with that little blue possum on the roof, that possum, which Dan did a great job with, again, fantastic. We're going to add animals every week, like the old Eldino, or Eldin's Ark. There's too many shows I've done. But as you can see, it's blue. Possums aren't blue, but if it absorbed enough, it would come out that way. So that's it. That's photoluminescence. I hope you enjoyed. It was really sciencey. You really can't escape when it comes to light and science as well. So with that being said, then, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope I kind of piqued your curiosity and you're going to look into this more. Maybe not. Maybe you won't. But either way, I hope you enjoyed today. So with that, my name's Eldin Atkin. I will catch you next time. We don't know when, but I'll be here. Live from the SS Eldin's Ark, only on riotradio.ca and all of our other affiliations. We'll catch you next time.